Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today you're joining us as we unpack our recent walk on the Camino de Santiago, that, iconic Spanish pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm.
Our source material is basically a casual audio chat we recorded right after we finished back in July 2024.
That's right. And look, our aim isn't really to give you the glossy travelogue or some big inspirational self-help talk.
No.
We want to dive into the bits people maybe don't talk about as much, the surprising stuff, how we had to adjust, and maybe some insights that, go beyond the usual stories.
Yeah, like an unfiltered look, basically.
Exactly, a genuine feel for it.
You're getting the first-hand accounts, the unexpected moments, the stuff that, might get smoothed over and more polished, or, let's be honest, maybe sponsored content sometimes.
Right.
Okay, let's dive in. First thing, Spanish trains. Might not be what you expect.
Yeah, you sort of have this idea about European train travel, maybe, that it's all super smooth.
Totally.
But our experience in Spain was, a bit of a reality check, even though we kind of knew there could be delays.
We'd heard some things.
Yeah, but the way it actually happened, and how often, was still pretty surprising.
It was almost funny looking back. Like, imagine you've bought a train ticket, right? Say, from London to Manchester.
Yeah.
You're all settled in. Then the train just stops in Birmingham. And the announcement comes on, this train terminates here.
And that's it, full stop.
Yeah, doesn't go any further.
And the thing was, the communication. For you listening, it's interesting. All the announcements about why we'd stopped, what's next, purely in Spanish.
Right. Even though it was clearly a big issue, a long delay, you could hear the urgency, but
yeah,
Spanish only.
So suddenly everyone's getting off the train in, our Birmingham example.
Yeah, on the platform, thinking, okay, now what?
But that's kind of where the Camino spirit kicked in, strangely enough, even off the paths.
Totally. We figured out the next step, which turned out to be a bus, mostly by asking other pilgrims who were also stuck.
Yeah, people were surprisingly helpful.
It really was a moment.
And that whole experience, it does make you think, doesn't it, about language when you travel. We, maybe especially native English speakers, sometimes just assume, But why should a Spanish train conductor speak fluent English? It's their country.
Exactly. It's a good reminder, maybe learn a few basic phrases, Be prepared.
Definitely. On a more practical note, though, we did learn about their compensation policy.
Oh, yeah, the refund.
Right. If your train's delayed over 60 minutes, you get half back. Over 90, it's a full refund.
And we actually did claim our delay was, 70, 80 minutes? Something like that. So we got a partial refund.
Yeah, we did. But what's interesting for you listening is that this policy had actually changed pretty recently, July 1st, 2024.
Just before we traveled, basically.
Exactly. The delay needed to be longer to get compensation than it used to be.
Huh. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe stopping the train short helped them avoid hitting that 90-minute full refund mark.
Pure speculation, obviously. Yeah. But, it's just one of those practical travel things to keep in the back of your mind.
Definitely. Okay, so, shifting gears.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the actual walking part, the Camino itself.
Right.
You hear so much about it, and there's this big focus on the final 100 kilometers, isn't there?
Yeah, mainly because that's the minimum you need to walk to get the official certificate, the Compostela, in Santiago.
So that stretch, usually starting around Soria.
It has a really different vibe compared to the earlier parts. We walked about 300 kilometers total, and the difference was noticeable.
How so?
Well, in that last 100K, there were just way more people, loads more. And the amenities, cafes, places to stay, they're much more frequent, easier in a way.
So if you're picturing this solitary, deeply personal trek, that last bit might not be it.
Probably not entirely solitary, no. You'll definitely be sharing the path with a lot more people, which can be great too, but it's different.
Good to know. And it's not just one single path, is it? People talk about the French way.
Right, that's the most famous one. But there are loads. The Northern Way along the coast, which sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah.
The Portuguese Way, the English Way, the Via de la Plata from the south, lots more. Basically, any path heading towards Santiago counts.
But for a first-timer, maybe sticking to the more well-known ones makes sense,
Yeah.
like the French or Portuguese.
Yeah, I'd say so. Just practically speaking, the infrastructure, places to sleep, signs, services, it's just more developed, makes the logistics a bit easier.
Gotcha. Okay. Now for something slightly less romantic.
Oh.
Bed bugs.
Ah, yes. The uninvited guests. It was, surprising. And not pleasant, even in hostels. That seemed totally fine, clean enough.
It was so ironic, too. We had actually finished walking. We're in Santiago for a couple of extra days, just soaking it in.
Right, relaxing.
And that's when it happened. 3 out of the 4 of us got bitten.
Yep. And we mostly stayed in the typical pilgrim hostels, the albergue.
Dorm rooms, basically.
Yeah, usually around 15, maybe 20 euros for a bunk bed. Some are super basic, just a big room full of beds. Others might have like little cubicles with 4 beds and a curtain you can zip up, a bit more privacy.
And you also get those donation-based places, right? Often run by churches.
Exactly. You usually sign up in the morning, and if they have space, you're in. It's a nice system.
Though it's funny, even in some church places, we saw card readers for the donations.
Huh. Yeah, times are changing, I guess.
But those bites,
Yeah.
seriously, for anyone listening who hasn't had them, they are not like mosquito bites.
No way. They are persistent and so itchy. Incredibly itchy.
We were constantly using anti-itch cream, taking antihistamines, just trying to get some relief. It's definitely a less glamorous part of budget travel, even on a pilgrimage.
It really is.
And the funny thing was, when we got back home and mentioned it to our doctors,
Oh, yeah. Their reactions.
they were almost like, the Camino. Yes, bed bugs. We hear about that.
Yeah.
Kind of knowingly sympathetic.
Yeah, like it's a known hazard of the trail. Just underscores the unpredictable side of it all.
Totally. Okay, so challenges. We mentioned bugs. What about other things like safety concerns? We worried a bit beforehand about theft, didn't we? Especially in quieter areas.
Yeah, it crosses your mind. Particularly because, as you'll find if you do it, starting really early is super common.
Like 5 or 6 a.m.
Right. Mainly to avoid the afternoon heat. We walked in August, which honestly isn't ideal heat-wise, so you end up walking quite a bit in the dark pre-dawn.
But the paths are generally really well marked, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Those yellow arrows and the scallop shell symbols, they're pretty much everywhere, guiding you towards Santiago. It's hard to get seriously lost for long.
Hard, but not impossible.
I remember that one time I was actually on a work call.
Seriously?
Yeah.
On the Camino?
Yeah, talking about the Spanish economy, ironically enough.
Yeah.
And we just got totally distracted, chatting away, missed a turn completely.
Oh, no.
But then, this is where that kindness thing comes in again.
Right. The pilgrim community.
Exactly. Some other walkers coming behind us saw we were going wrong, and they actually, ran after us to let us know.
Wow. That's amazing.
It really was. Just that feeling of people looking out for each other. It's quite special. Definitely. It's not just about getting help, though. It's that shared experience.
And it wasn't just big moments like that. Little things, too. Remember that time we were walking, saying how much we fancied a coffee?
Vaguely. Yeah.
And literally, around the next bend, there was this little cafe just appeared. It felt like the Camino was providing,
serendipity. Or maybe just good timing.
me. But those unexpected encounters, they were real highlights, like that cafe owner we chatted with.
Oh, yeah, him. His English was fantastic, and his story. He used to be an engineer, right? From Eastern Europe somewhere?
Poland, I think. Or somewhere nearby. Left this high-pressure corporate job.
Because he'd walked the Camino himself, and it changed his perspective, so he opened this little cafe right on the path.
Yeah. And what he said about getting lost, that really stuck with me.
Me too. He said every time he got lost on his walk, someone always showed up to help him get back on track.
And he saw it as a metaphor, didn't he? Like, sometimes getting lost in life gives you a chance to change direction.
Exactly. It makes you think, about priorities. Maybe finding fulfillment in something simpler. He seemed genuinely happy.
He really did. He was quite inspiring.
And then, of course, there's actually reaching Santiago de Compostela.
Destination.
The cathedral.
Yeah.
Even with the construction work going on when we were there, it was still just, wow, so impressive.
That interior, all the gold details, and the big statue is St. James Santiago.
Yeah. And the tradition of going up to hug the statue.
We almost missed that. We were so overwhelmed when we first arrived.
I know, but we made sure to go back the next day. And doing that, it felt significant.
It really did, like a real sense of, wow, we actually did it. Gratitude, accomplishment.
Yeah. Even if you're not religious, like me, there was definitely something powerful about that moment. Almost spiritual, maybe. Hard to describe.
I agree. And then there was the Bordefumero.
Oh my gosh, yes. That giant incense burner.
Swinging through the cathedral.
Yeah.
We were so lucky to see that. We just happened to pop into an evening mass.
Totally spontaneously.
And they used it. Seeing that huge thing swinging right across the cathedral, filling the air with incense. It was incredible.
Truly a spectacle. You don't see that every day.
Definitely not. Okay, we can't not talk about the food.
Yes. Fuel for the walk. The tortilla española.
The Spanish omelet became a staple, didn't it?
Pretty much. And it was interesting how it changed slightly as we walked west towards the coast. Sometimes thicker, sometimes different ingredients.
Yeah, little regional variations. And the coffee?
Consistently good, thankfully. Much needed for those early starts.
Definitely. And the bread.
Yeah.
Oh, the bread.
Uh-huh. Crusty European bread. It's an experience, let's say that. You need good teeth.
Or good dunking technique.
Yeah.
But what about the churros?
Ooh, yes. Or whatever that fried dough pastry was with the thick chocolate sauce.
We found amazing ones in a smaller town, remember? Not Madrid or anywhere big.
Yeah.
They were small and thin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those were the best. Perfect little energy boost.
It was nice just observing the pace of life, too, wasn't it? Seeing older people just hanging out in bars in the evening, chatting.
Yeah. Yeah. A real sense of community. Very relaxed.
And then there was that random vending machine.
Oh, haha, yes. Selling adult novelty items. Right by the road.
So unexpected. Definitely not something you see back home every day.
No. It was memorable. But beyond the sights and food, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was developing this more relaxed feeling.
Yeah, me too. Letting go a bit.
Learning to just go at your own pace. Trusting things will work out. Remember that experienced pilgrim we met?
The one who never booked accommodation ahead.
Yeah. Just walked until he felt tired and trusted a bed would appear.
That seems so radical at first.
I know. We started off much more planned, booking places ahead, but by the end, we were definitely more flexible, weren't we?
Yeah, we kind of loosened up, let go of needing to control everything.
And that's such a contrast to, normal life back home. Everything's scheduled, planned out.
Totally. Embracing that uncertainty on the Camino, it was actually really valuable.
It really was. And it just highlights how important it is to stay curious, stay open to whatever happens.
Definitely. So, okay, recapping the unexpected bits for everyone listening.
Right. The Spanish train reality check.
The different vibes on different parts of the Camino.
The delightful bed bug surprise.
What? The amazing kindness of other pilgrims.
Yeah, that was huge. And just that shift in mindset, becoming more flexible.
So if anyone listening is thinking about doing the Camino, any final advice?
Well, first, I'd say if you can, consider going independently rather than a big tour for a more personal feel.
Good point. And be honest about fitness, right? It's a lot of walking day after day with a pack. Do some training.
Absolutely essential. And definitely keep that curious, open attitude we talked about. You just don't know what's around the corner.
Oh, and practically speaking, leave plenty of time for connections. Flights, trains in Europe, delays happen. Don't schedule things too tight.
Yes, good one. Buffer time is your friend. And if you do have a layover somewhere, maybe build in time to actually see the city. Make the most of it.
Great idea. Okay, final thought for people to mull over. Thinking about that cafe owner and our experience getting lost. This idea of turning back or changing direction in life when you realize maybe you're not on the right path.
Yeah. It's okay to reevaluate.
Exactly. It's okay to realize, hang on, this isn't actually where I want to be going.
Mm-hmm.
Are the things you're doing now really lining up with what you want long term?
Deep thoughts. Something to chew on.
Definitely. And hey, if anyone has more questions about our trip or wants to share their own Camino thoughts, please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.